during any dips in price. What is happening during the 15-minute chart? What's happening during the hourly? What's happening during the 4-hour? What's happening more importantly on the daily chart? When we get a lower move off of a bull move, is that just turning into a flash crash like it usually does? Because right now, if to have a long-term bullish bias, you know, rising prices are just kind of a moot point. You know, that we really want to see strong responsive buying come in on any dip. And so when I'm looking at this, I drew this blue parallel channel here because this signifies that we have a bear flag formation. A bear flag is a rising up channel after a bearish move. So bear flags appear after the end of a down move, and what we're looking for here is prices to break out of this channel to the upside, because if we break through to the downside, then we're visiting that sub 6200 area. We'll definitely be visiting that 5500 zone. So we don't want to see prices really even entertain moving to the lower end of this channel, the 6500 level. We really don't want to see that at all. What is really nice and supported right now is that we have found like a shared, and I actually have it drawn better over here. So this Gann arc has acted as a strong support zone over the last two 4-hour candlesticks, and in addition to that, we found support against the 69.55 harmonic pivot. This is an inner harmonic pivot. That is this is a naturally strong reversal area. So when prices come down or up to it, prices like to reverse. In this case, we traded above it, and I was holding as a support zone. The place that we got rejected, it makes perfect sense. We got rejected at this 45-degree Gann angle, in addition to this 1x3 angle. So this is a natural area for us to kind of find a little bit of a excuse me, a little bit of a like a stopping point for price. And this is really, to me, what's happening right now is the most important thing that we've really seen happen over the last 2 months, probably, because this, if we fail to hold above 6,800, well, screw that. I mean, actually, if we fail to hold above 6,900, then we're more than likely visiting lower numbers. That's not the highest probability, but that certainly is an option. We've got to think that short interest, open short interest, both in the futures market and on some of the non-regulated U.S. exchanges that actually have a pseudo futures market, and you can short kind of a CFD of short contracts. They are still near all-time high short positions open, and so people there are probably really heavily into trying to defend their shorts when they don't want to cover, so they're adding. But the higher we go here, the more they get pinched and the more we get to experience a rally. So the fact that we're holding off right now, if we zip this down to like the 1 hour, this is a pretty nice supportive move here, but we just don't really want to see us break the 6,900 value area. That'll more than likely produce a big drive down. This morning's candlestick on the hourly was pretty heavy to the downside, but we found a lot of support down there. If we look at it on the Ichimoku, we can see that the cloud acted as a natural support level on the 1 hour cloud. That's the first time the 1 hour cloud has been tested since we had this breakout of consolidation back on the 27th. So what we really want to do, we really want to stay above this baseline, the red moving average here. If we don't stay above that, I'm getting a little bit increased itchy trigger finger to exit the longs and then open the shorts up. But currently it's sitting okay. We'll have to see. How are the other alts doing with all of this? Let's take a peek at Ethereum, which is just really lagging everything and everybody that you can think of. Probably for a good reason. But Ethereum certainly could catch a pump. I'm looking at getting long on Ethereum here just because we're drifting towards this 45-degree angle, and we haven't had any movement in this market geometry at all. You know, we're sitting right below. We can zoom out here. Where are we sitting? Yeah, we're sitting kind of in a mid-harmonic range. But we're sitting right below this major 2/8 harmonic, and the price action here is to be very, very strong for reversal in price action. So I mean, the 45-degree angle should act as a nice support line, and so what that means basically is as we're drifting and moving forward in time, we should actually see Ethereum follow this up and get rejected away from it. Otherwise, really, we'll just see it trade down even farther. But because Ethereum hasn't really had a lot of movement compared to the rest of the market, if we do see Bitcoin continue to rise and the altcoin market rise, then I am definitely wanting to get in on Ethereum for a little bit of a ride. Ethereum, looking at the 4-hour here, actually has quite a bit of volume coming in on this current 4-hour candlestick. I've got buy orders waiting at I believe it was, let me look, 308.23. That's where I have long trades sitting and waiting. Ethereum Classic, another laggard for the most part. Really not entertaining any entries in here either. Yeah. But Bitcoin, man, I tell you, Bitcoin's really got to. The thing here is what makes this like my trigger finger is ready to exit any long trades is that I'm thinking about just exiting them already because I don't like the setup here. So far we've got an inside daily candlestick and at the top of a 9-day trading trend, a 9-day counter trend, and in Gann's work, 9 of anything is generally a reversal zone. If you ever wonder why Tom DeMark, like Tom DeMark's number and sequence numbering system that goes to like 9 and 13, it's not a coincidence that number 9 is usually the magic number for his sequential count on why things usually kind of bounce and reverse from that level. But this inside bar that's formed on the daily, you know, I have mixed feelings about it. We should see, really, if this does stay an inside candle on the close by 7 o'clock tonight, then, you know, I might be, it kind of gives us a clear direction. But in the short term, I'm really not a huge fan of what is happening with this top here. Again, if we were to trade down to this level and break that, we've really just formed the right shoulder of a head and shoulders pattern, which it's uncommon for head and shoulders pattern to actually play out during the bottom part of a trend, like a normal head and shoulder pattern. If that shows up near a bottom move, then they usually get rejected, which is really what we're seeing happen right now. But definitely the volume participation and the price participation. The volume participation at this price level is very important. The $700 value range, $7,000 value area here really needs to stay, and 6,900 should not be traded below. All right. Cardano. I think I was talking about this one before. I realized, one, that the stream wasn't streaming to the right stream, and the mic was all sorts of wonky. For here, I'm okay holding my longs until we get, a couple hours worth of candlesticks that would be trading below this previous trend line. Otherwise, I'm still bullish on Cardano. I mean, it's in a funky area right now in its square, where we're trading just a hair above. If I was trading a daily, like if I was just going to set it and forget it, I mean, anything between 25 cents and 1 cent in Cardano is something that I'm perfectly comfortable just hanging on to for however long and risking that. From a trading perspective, I don't like the current daily. We had a nice rise over the morning, but now we're looking a little top heavy. And so a pullback down to one or all of these trend lines is a good probability. But again, just like looking at Bitcoin, we want to see strong support on any move down. I would actually like to see Bitcoin trade down lower here just to see what happens with that price action. I want to see, are there people coming in to trade this up or not. The other thing I was looking at was if you remember the mirrored foldback pattern. Some of you may recall. Not traded crypto. Oh, I'm still failing with currencies and metal. Well, I was just telling folks that trading currencies is a great market to kind of learn about both sides of the market, because when you trade forex or futures, you can go long you can go short as easy as you can go long, and you don't have like this. There's a lot, because cryptocurrencies are such a long biased market. People naturally, I think, tend to think shorting is bad. I know I used to think shorting was bad, like, how dare you capitalize on something going down? And now I'm like, why not? Well, it's insurance. That's protection. I don't get what the problem is anymore. So, it makes so much sense to me why shorting is okay that I have a hard time justifying something that seems so natural now. But Bitcoin, if you remember looking at it, the trade idea I had up, this was back in June, and I want to make sure that, did I delete it? No, I didn't. Okay, it's on there. So trade idea I had back in June is right here. So June 18th, a little over 2 months ago, drew this, had this trade idea. It's called a mirrored fold back pattern. And if we hit the play button, it'll update the candlestick. So we see that the current price action, the future projection bar line trend that I drew, that is actually being followed pretty nicely so far. If we want to get a more clear picture, because I can't zoom in on the ideas, which sucks, but for here, here's the mirrored foldback. It's the grayed out. That'll make it a little easier to see. So the mirrored foldback pattern, what we're looking for is not the exact same price areas to trade. We're looking for the same structure, so the same kind of swings. So does this price action here match, does this highlighted price action seem pretty similar? Yeah. We're not looking for an exact swing to swing to swing. We're looking for something that looks similar. So it's like a reflection, but it's like looking at a reflection in a pool of water where there's a little wind and it's wavy. You can still tell that it follows it. And so we follow that trend, and that's where we come down here. And if we look at the black levels here, we can see that it's pointing up still. So have we made an equal move to this high over here yet? Probably not. And actually, that's probably where we get stopped, is that 7,500 value area. If we're going to go like a ratio of this swing high to here, and then looking at what actually played out from here down to here. So 7,500 is more than likely where we go. to find a little bit of a stopping area. And that actually makes perfect sense when we look at the market geometry. You know, we close above this angle here. Let me hide this again. Close above this angle here. We always, you know, the rule of angles states that when we break an angle, we move to test the next one. And, you know, testing this area here would form that same swing pattern that we observed. All right. Right. Okay. Where was I going? I put in a nano trade idea at the beginning here where I have a resting buy order for nano. Where are you at? Which chart was that on? Oh, this one probably. Yep. So I have a resting buy order on nano based on the 4 hour. Where are you at? Man, I am all over the place today. Oof. For resting buy order at 43.81, you know, this 45-year angle acted as a really strong resistance zone. Traded above it, got way too high, came back down, holding as a support. If it doesn't hold, nano goes down further, but still, this is probably a nice trading one. Basic attention token. Looking at that one, that's kind of meh. Some of the others, if we look at them on the Ichimoku, who here is unfamiliar with the Ichimoku system? It's okay if you're, and I'm going to tell you why it's okay if you're not familiar with it, because the chartered market technicians material is just coming out with the Ichimoku system as part of their educational material, and the third edition of technical analysis. That's like the Bible. Actually, just bought the third edition. I have the first and second. But the third edition, it's done by Charles Kirkpatrick and Julie Dahlquist. That was done in 2013, and they just included the Ichimoku system in there. So Ichimoku system is old. It's been around since, you know, before World War II. It was when Goichi Hosada was working on it in Japan, and it only really got popular in U.S. markets in the 2000s. So it's fine if you're unfamiliar with it, but it's actually a trading system made up of multiple indicators, but on most charting software, it's just part of it. It's just called an indicator, and you just type in Ichi and it's Ichimoku Cloud. So we've, you know, made English names for all of these things because the Japanese names, I think, confuse people. Like, it's the Tenkan-sen and the Kijin-sen, and then the Chico span, and then the Kumo and the Senko span A, Senko span B. So it really makes it more confusing to something that looks confusing already. But really what we have here is, and if any of you are having difficulty finding something that is proven to be profitable, if you trade it like the rules are, like you're supposed to, then the Ichimoku system is for you. I go over the Ichimoku system a lot over the last few months because this is a system that I used to learn to become profitable. And there's so many things that you learn in the Ichimoku system that you don't even realize you're learning, and it translates very well into, you know, the rest of the normal Western analysis that you would do. So the Ichimoku system is a fantastic system all by itself. I mean, if you further your own studies, or if you choose to go for some professional certification in technical analysis, you're going to find that the Western style analysis and the Eastern Ichimoku system, they're very, very compatible, and they both are basically giving you the same end of a story, but the journey to the end of that story is just written a little different. So in the Ichimoku system, it's like it's got the incorporation of Hurst, Elliott, Gann, and Gartley, like all together. So the Ichimoku system is phenomenal. Real quick, there's a few components to this that make up the system. There's two of these averages. Now these are moving averages, but they're moving averages of the mean of each candlestick. So it takes basically it's taking the high and the low and averaging it, and that's where we get the line. So the blue line is the faster average. It's a 9-period average, and then that's called the conversion line, and then the red line is called the baseline, and that's a 26 period average. And the baseline is very, very similar to a 50% Fibonacci retracement. All right, and probably one of the things that you should look at and test and measure on your own is that think of price being attached to the baseline by a rubber band. And so the farther that price gets from the baseline, above it or below it, the higher the chance you have of it snapping back up to that line. So the baseline is really a measurement of the ATR. It's the 50% Fibonacci level, and it's also a warning system of letting you know when something is probably either oversold or overbought. And you can measure that by, well, for instance, like on the hourly chart in foreign currencies, I know that a 50 pip move away from the baseline on an hourly chart is inevitable that it's going to trade back to it. It's an easy short scalp. Or if it's the 4-hour chart on the euro dollar, the baseline, if it's more than like 110 pips away from it, then it's like a guaranteed move back to the baseline. So the baseline is really an area of a powerful support or resistance, and it's a very important line. And it's just like any other moving average, except these averages don't factor in the close, they factor in the average of the high and the low of those periods. And then that brings us to the cloud. And the cloud is just the space between, TradingView, you changed how you do this, but there we go. Okay, so the cloud is just what in the world? Wonder why it's doing that. That's weird. Okay, that's bizarre. If you see, the cloud is just moved forward, and the cloud is just these moving averages move forward 52 periods, and then they get the color from depending where the conversion line is. So if the conversion line is below the baseline, then it gets colored red. And if the conversion line is above the baseline, then that's colored green. And the cloud itself represents, it gives current price action compared to previous areas of support and resistance. And then it's a really fascinating thing. If you've used Hurst analysis, if you've ever seen those future lines of demarcation, that is essentially what we've got going on here. And so the Ichimoku system, the cloud, is just the space between the moving averages thrust forward in time 56 periods. And we use the cloud as an area of support and resistance, but more importantly, and this is probably arguably the most important part of the Ichimoku system, is that it doesn't tell us just when and how to take a trade, but it tells us when not to take a trade. Whenever price is sitting in the cloud, you do not take a trade. All right, that is a sign. That is almost like a Bollinger Band squeeze. It's a sign of consolidation. It's a hang on, I'm just grabbing my standing desk chair here. The cloud is a if price is inside of it, that's a sign of indecision, congestion, accumulation. Just basically, you don't want to worry about it. All right, and then the last component is, oh my gosh, this is just the coolest part. I love this part. The lagging span, or the Chico span. And the lagging span is just the current price action. So if we were to go from a candlestick to like a line chart, that's all this is. This is lagging span is the current price action moved back 26 periods, okay? And this is where you might be thinking something weird, but when you look at your Ichimoku chart, try to think of, instead of one series of candlesticks or one series of price, think of it as looking at two. Because the lagging span itself will respond to areas of prior support and resistance, just like price will. I know that sounds weird, but you know, if we were to hide the price action, we can see that the lagging span, you know, when it moves close to the averages, or if it gets close to the cloud, it likes to treat those areas themselves as support and resistance. Okay, so it's like we have a double what did I write? Oh, I wrote EUR-USD long. No, that was ETH-USD, sorry. I'm so used to writing down Forex pairs. Now let's just kind of bring this all together now that we see how that works. So candles, and we're good. So let's go over to Bitcoin. Now that we know how these all work, what are the rules? How do you trade the Ichimoku system? Well, like we said, when the candlesticks are inside the clouds, we don't take a trade. So let's say it is inside the cloud. Okay, let's say the price action is right here. Actually, I want to look at a better. Sometimes cryptos aren't the best example. Let's look at. All right, this is a good example. So let's pretend that we're looking at, I guess it doesn't matter what chart you use, but just looking at an example. So this is Market Replay. If you've never used this, this is probably one of the most useful tools in TradingView. So we see prices trading, and then I see, okay, they're in the cloud, so I'm not taking a trade right now. I'm looking to go long or short, depending on what the chart's going to tell me. So there would be a long signal right there, quickly followed by an exit. Now we're back in the cloud, not taking a trade. We're waiting. See the lagging span is back here still, how it moves along with price. Still going, still going, still going. There was another long trade there, signaled on the 4-hour chart. No system is going to keep you immune from chop. It just doesn't happen. That's why I use Ichimoku with multiple time frames. Okay, now we're getting to the point where we wanted to look at what was going on. So the rules for going short are the same rules for going long. It's just the inverse. So for going short, price has to be below the cloud, and we want to see the conversion line below the baseline, and the lagging span also needs to be below the cloud. That is like the final the final thing that you want to see for anything is the lagging span being below the cloud and below price. So, and that'll give us the signal to go short, because otherwise you get chopped up in these areas. So right now, that is the signal to take a short, because we have baseline below the conversion, prices below the cloud, and the lagging span finally broke out below the cloud, so we take that short. and then we just continue to ride this down. And then while you're inside a new trend, you know, sometimes you want to take profit when you pull back to the conversion line and then go short again when you cross below it. You'll often find prices find resistance when they go return to the base or when they first test the cloud for the first time. But the Ichimoku system really does a fantastic job of keeping you in a trade, keeps you out of bad ones, and it also gives you a good warning of when it's probably time to take profit. And so this depends on the trader, but when you see the baseline, the blue line, if that ever crosses above the base when we're in a bearish trade, then that's a sign to probably exit and cover that short. Or if you see the lagging span trading inside the price action, that is another sign that the trend is consolidating. So there's a couple options for that. All right, we don't need to look at that anymore. So looking at Bitcoin from the 4-hour perspective of the Ichimoku system, this is important to look at. If we look at all the times Bitcoin is broken out above the 4-hour cloud, that has happened, I think it's only 3 or 4 times. So from the all-time high, excluding the initial panic here, we've had 1, 2, no, not really, 3. Only 3 times that we've really had a strong, 4 times, yeah, 4 times we've actually had a really strong break above the cloud that is sustained for any amount of time. So where we're currently sitting is an iffy spot, because when prices drop below the conversion line consistently, that's a sign that the trend is weakening and that it's not very strong. And if that happens, you know, kind of close to when you have a breakout from the cloud, it's not always it's not a sign of strength, that's for sure. So if I'm trading the Ichimoku system on the 4-hour, then I'm not wanting to go long, probably until I see price cross above the conversion line here and close above that on the 4-hour chart. I may be interested in buying when it comes back down to the baseline, but I want to see what price action would do at the base. Baseline should act as a very strong support zone, but if it doesn't, then probably just, you know, abandoning the trade and seeing what happens. And what does this look like on the 4-hour? Still same thing. This is not looking very healthy on the 4-hour. You have like a tweezer top here on the hourly. On the daily, well, that's interesting, isn't it? On the daily, look at where price got stopped, right at the bottom of the cloud. Now, when you see clouds with very flat levels, those are the strongest areas of support and resistance. So that is the strongest area of resistance, yeah, it's going to be hard for price to pierce this and stay above it. Definitely on the daily chart, we see that, you know, we are forming a tweezer top here in the candlesticks, but the volume today is a lot lower than yesterday. We'll see if that provides any follow through. And if we do return to the baseline here below the cloud, we'll see if there's any supportive buying, but really don't want to break below that 6,900 value area. Looking at some of the others, you know, Cardano, it's the highest it went was the baseline on the daily chart. That's where it got halted. Now, if we were trading this, if we were shorting Cardano, that would be the area that we would re-enter a short. Okay, Walton Chain. It's a sign. This is a sign that if you were short, you probably want to cover your position and consider transitioning to long pretty soon, because you have the conversion cross over the base. This is actually a big deal on a daily chart when you see this happen. Nano almost Okay, here's a good example of the lagging span. So let's say you were just a naked, and there's nothing wrong with naked price action trading. I think everybody should learn how to do it because, um, you know, naked trading kind of helps you learn how it gets you into like the feeling or the method or the movement of an instrument. And the more you do it, the more you kind of get this innate feeling for how something moves. But if we were just doing naked price action trading, or even if we were using, God forbid, moving averages. Folks, if you use moving averages to trade, and if you're using them as a signal to trade or a basis of your trading, don't. One of the biggest scams ever sold to new traders is the idea that moving averages are good for support or resistance, or that crossovers are good signals. It's bad. I mean, it looks accurate on past price action, but does not work like that. The days of the turtle trend system are over with. Okay, so let's say you were trading using moving averages. How would you know where a profit could be taken? How would you know where this was going to stop? You know, why did price stop up here? Why? Why did it stop right here? I mean, are you going to use past price action to determine where that resistance level was? Or if you're using the Ichimoku system, it tells you right away, lagging span, right up against the cloud, the top of the cloud faced resistance. That's what and so right now we've got a double support area technically on the daily where price is finding support at the conversion line, and the lagging span is also halted at the bottom of the cloud where it's acting as a support level. All right. For Nano on a daily chart, it's actually has this. I think this is one of the only crypto charts on the daily where it's missing only one condition to be bullish, and that's the lagging span above the cloud. Otherwise, all the other conditions are met. Basic attention token, nope, but it certainly looks like it wants to change to bullish. Stellar lumens, nope. But I would be entering in long here at a break of the high of this day, so 23.91. I have a resting buy order in there. Actually, I think mine is lower, but I have to check. Walton chain, too close to the cloud here to look at it, but nice volume coming in though. Really, the only reason that Walton chain and Nano have caught a big bid, and if any of you have been with us for a while, I was calling these out weeks ahead of time. The only reason that I was picking on them was, well, two reasons. Two, they both have fantastic utility, and then the other reason is that I don't know if that made sense of how I numbered them, numbered the reasons, but the other is because those charts are the most beaten up charts in all of cryptocurrencies. I mean, that actually have some participatory volume in them. They are the most beat up, so they're, you know, if you've ever traded equities and you look at like biotechs, small cap to micro cap biotech companies, you know, that are shorted to hell or they never move, but they have like 72% institutional ownership, it's because they're being professionally and just kept artificially low. So if they ever do, you know, produce that cure for cancer, then that $1.10, you know, company can get bought out by, you know, for hundreds of dollars a share. So, I mean, that is the exact same type of price action I see happening with some of these cryptocurrencies like Walton Chain. This is a logistics, a supply chain project, and then Nano is the fastest transactional coin, and it's cheap. It's free. As far as I know, I've never been charged transferring nano. So yeah, there's that. Other crypto, yeah, let's see if ZRX was. Yeah, that's right. Probably tomorrow we'll see if this one has turned into anything. What does it look like on the 4-hour? Yeah. So the 4-hour, if we get a close, yeah, this looks like just a bull flag. If we get a close above 8207, then I'm interested in that long. Although that is the, I got to remember to do this. I'm looking for the Bitcoin pair. Ooh, well, I like it even better. Lagging span. It's over here. We have to wait for it to break. We're going to wait for it to break in time above. That would be on the 26th. What's the hourly look like? Oops. Yeah. I mean, if it gets there, I'll just have a resting buy order there at 12.24. Then we've got, oh, BCPT, BC. This one is a long. As soon as you get back above, needs to get back above the conversion line. We were at 1409. Oops. It actually got knocked down pretty hard there, didn't it? Looking ugly. What is Bitcoin looking at right now? Actually, it went back up positive 7. Okay, yeah, this is the kind of stuff I'm looking for. This hourly close, something to pay attention to. If we go to the 5-minute chart, I want to see what happened here. Yeah, so in the last 15-20 minutes, it really rallied higher here and closed very nicely. That's a good sign. That's the kind of stuff you want to see. If you remember when we looked at this before the hour closed, it was sitting all the way down here at 69.90, 69.93. That end of the hour volume and price action is exactly what we want to see. Now we just want to see some follow through with the current. See it trade above the. Really looking at this on the hourly, if we see price action trade up above the baseline, then we're definitely in a nice pullback move, and we more than likely surpass that 72.50 value area. Otherwise, we're in Uglyville again with some downside pressure. Cardano, very similar chart. Want to see it trade higher above. So right now this isn't looking very healthy. So this is why I'm sitting on my trigger finger where I might want to exit longs. It's like the volume down here is just giving us a middle finger right here. That's inappropriate. Let's check the real quick. I know I'm a little over time, but I had the mic issue and then I was streaming to the Forex Lens, not to here. Let's look at the financial astrology real quick. Bitcoin. Yep. There is really not a lot of stuff right in front of us. We are still the retrograde cycle. We left these two bullish sun trine aspects are over as well. So the behavior of price historically during these two trines here is very fluid, easy moving price action, where if there's not a lot of effort involved, that is what we're supposed to observe here. If that is going to be a nice confirmation of these cycles. And then we have that Sun in Virgo also saying that price action is supposed to move fairly easily and fluidly. You know, looking ahead, September is definitely where I see the next swing high forming. And for those of you who weren't here yesterday, the strategy of BTC and ETH against each other. Oh yeah, I can go over that real quick. It's actually, thanks for bringing that up. If you don't like to short, or if you don't want to open up an account at Poloniex, which I think is shit, Poloniex or Kraken, then you can trade the Bitcoin, the ETH BTC chart. This is the bread and butter of the of trading crypto. If you want to trade these two, because if you want, like if you're looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, if you want to short Ethereum, you just you basically sell your Ethereum and let your Bitcoin gain in value. And then if you want to go long into Ethereum, you just you sell your Bitcoin. So the Ethereum Bitcoin chart is just it's measuring the performance of Ethereum against Bitcoin. And if we look at this, if we look at this chart, there is some wicked, crazy divergence going on here that has been going on for a while. So when you see this kind of stuff happen, when it's forming this base, this is telling us that more than likely Ethereum has a breakout ahead. This is looking pretty bullish for Ethereum, actually. The volume's really gotten heavy in here. I mean, the other way to look at this is just that, if it's sitting like this, then we're, Bitcoin and Ethereum are in equilibrium. They're both basically just trading in, omnidirectional. They're not, one isn't really outperforming the other, but certainly this chart trades just like any other. And if we definitely see, I mean, because we're so in such a tight range in here, a trade on the hourly is perfectly appropriate if we get the signal for it. And looks like we are getting one here pretty soon. The ETH BTC buy is a pretty easy one if we can get up to that 04. Really just want to break this high. Yeah, there's regular and hidden divergence in this. This is just a wacky pair right now. ETH BTC. Oops. If you want to trade it, if I wanted to trade it long at 41.98. All right. That works out. Otherwise, we'll just see Bitcoin Bitcoin outperforming Ethereum is pretty evident by any chart. Okay, it looks like we are seeing some of that yucky weakness maybe in some of these altcoins. We'll see. Actually, there's it's catching a bid there a little bit. Cardano actually jumped up a little bit too. This is the time of day. Okay, so between 2 Central and then really to the Tokyo Open is a period of time when crazy stuff happens. Like you see the Barts, you see all those wild drives and moves, and then it's a lot like foreign currencies or futures market. You know, you get the Sydney Open, the Tokyo, the London Open's the big one, and then New York. But you know, the Tokyo session and the London sessions are the ones that seem to put a lot of drive and direction on these cryptos. So just be aware of that. Right now, you know, in my Cardano trade, I'm looking at this. It's getting a lot of buying tails above the clouds, so that's good. But damn it, I mean, it needs to move higher here. Otherwise, it needs to get more oomph. And if it doesn't, then yeah, I mean, I've got my screen ready to just hit the market sell on it. I've got a just in case stop, but otherwise, yeah. Any questions? If there's anything that I go through that you want me to explain more of, or that you want to see more of, you know, please let us know, because I mean, again, this is, I mean, providing a service. Eventually, I mean, this is the last week that it's free, and if you're going to be you know, if you want to pay for this, you know, I want to make sure that you're getting something of value. I mean, the worst thing I think is to you know, subscribe to a service like this and then get frustrated because, you know, the person's not telling you anything, or you're not learning anything, or there's not enough signals or whatever. I mean, that's something that just need to let me know. I mean, guys, I know what it's like to fail at trading. It is like a recap of the Gann trading method. Sure, yeah, we can do that. We can definitely do that tomorrow. Yeah, we can go over Gann's trading method, definitely. But again, I struggled to get to a point where I was profitable trading and where I do it for a living now. It's very hard, and a lot of the education out there is crappy. It's inefficient. It is made to look too easy. It's made to give you false hope and promises. There's a lot of stuff out there that is just not helpful. You know, there's a lot of signal sites that give you bad signals. It's per month. Yeah, per month, not 19 a day. Oh my gosh. And then and I think that's a pretty fair amount. I think that's an affordable amount and a fair amount, because there are services like this that charge $500. It's crazy. I know. I did some contract work for another company where they were charging for a service like this $500 a month. It's ridiculous. I mean, if you have $500 a month to spend on something like this, you probably are doing okay, where you don't need to do the stupid thing of trying how to make a living trading. Trading is very difficult, and I sympathize with folks very, very much, because I know what it's like to panic and lose money and wondering, you know, what you're going to do. So again, please let me know if there's something you want me to look at. If there's a particular Bitcoin pair or any cryptocurrency coin you want me to take a look at, let me know during the sessions. And you know, this is really for you guys. So you know, I come into the sessions with something to talk about and to do analysis, but ultimately, if there's something you want me to review, go over, a coin you want me to look at, that is also what I'm here to do. That is primarily what I'm here to do. So because we're getting into the season of Bitcoin doing the exponential rallies between August and early January. That is when historically Bitcoin likes to do its thing. So yeah. Anyways, It's 2:15, a little over that hour that I usually do, but that's fine. Anyways, Forex Lens, folks, I will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. And the rest of you, I will see you at 1 o'clock. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also put a comment in there, because that helps with the stuff, that part of it. I don't understand how that works, but yeah. Anyways, have a great rest of your trading day, and hope your week has gone well for you so far, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.